Right, so it's the 30th of April 2025, and I've got a few things I need to mention. One, the burning problem's been bad when it comes to this morning, but overnight it wasn't too bad, but it was occurring here and there. I don't like accusing neighbours of doing it, but this was getting quite bad at times, so obviously it's left me feeling burny with the burning sensation, even though it hasn't been that frequent overnight on this specific evening. There's been a few loud bike issues, there's been some threats, but there's one thing I need to mention in particular. A lady has reported me for something I haven't done. So someone has left a sheet or a piece of paper saying that I'm trying to rape women in the graveyard at Barwick, and it's been reported now to the police. But the problem is they're not providing that piece of paper, and they don't have a photograph of the paper that they're reporting. And I've been trying to tell the mental health team and the staff at supported housing that I haven't been leaving anything around. And I said anything that has been written is my daily problems or has been stated as threats. But that specific piece of information has not been written on any of my sheets at all. Anyway, yesterday these threats did increase when I was at Barwick. I'm currently at the Mind Cafe socialising there because the mental health team were mentioning that might be your only option to finding a partner, because he said you've let a couple of, I can't remember what she said, but anyway, I'll tell you what's been said. So you had sick cunt, real name's not Justin fucking Guy, and said black grey, Justin not supposed to have sex at 43, said open the window at 00.06 AM and time to a stretch, a 2 times loud bike. Justin sick cunt, breaking in your home, sorry, said at 25 past, molested a specific name I can't say, which is not true. Something similar revved by a 10 times loud bike. You're being shot down, just said. At 1:11 AM the burning occurs. Dog barks really sick. Bow whistles. Burning reoccurs again at times through the night. And it sounds like it's being done when a specific neighbour goes out, but it might not even be done by that neighbour. It might be done by another neighbour that's hearing that neighbour go out. But whatever's causing it, it seems to be very suggestive that it's happening at all those times, and each and every time that door goes before returning back. So you had a black going out today, starting today has been very bad. So you had a black mix with paint car, a YMF van, fucking smash them out. Dark red, I said, get a haircut at the hairdresser, a dark red, black and blue. Another bike issue, time to a stretch. Someone mistakes me as Savan, saying he's Savan, but a knife-shaped buggy at me. This is just a fucking what was it? I said this is Justin, fucking smash him out, said. So the cell calls at me. Time to a stretch, a loud bike. I've got to do this with people, but unfortunately, because I'm just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this information needs to be mentioned. So yeah, bopping with a needle, said. Sneezed up 4 times. Fucking paedophile, said. Photographed. Time to an itchy bumhole, loud bike, and time to that erection. And obviously there's been a load of other threats as well, but I haven't written them down yet because I've only just arrived at this place, and I needed to do a couple of phone calls regarding this issue at Barwick, which is not true. Right, so I had the mental health team phone me up because I was moaning about the issue of being accused of leaving a note around claiming that I'm trying to rape women in a Barwick graveyard just on the edge of Yeovil. So they said, we're not accusing you or anything like that, and they cannot provide the evidence, and they're making it sound like it's something historical. They said they've got to keep a note of it, they've got to keep a record of it, and they have had to inform the police and all that sort of stuff, but I'm not happy about it, because obviously This is not true. However, she did give me a lecture on stuff that I wrote on my sheets that I've chucked in the bin or whatever, like the threats that I've mentioned and all that sort of stuff being misinterpreted for this report that may have occurred. Anyway, let's get on with the what I state on these sheets, because I've got another page of problems. So I'm sneezed at, itchy bum on low bike issue, sneezed over, coughed at, mistaken as Seven said, sneezed over, cell call at me, Zimmer frame at me, coughed at, bonus bike only, get a needle, stab him said, photo taken of me, mistaken as Seven, sneezed at, photo taken of me, same 4 more times, yeah, full of sick said, blue grey, photo taken of me, Zimmer frame at me, coughed at, being stabbed said, Zimmer frame at me, he's a bloody sick child rapist molested kid, he said, toddler possessed to say shot down, ambulance timed, white car, £5 paedophile said or something like that, and shot down said several times by several different people. Right, so I guess I better get on with the problems, aren't I? And this road's busier than usual. Shot down said 3 more times, got a car just nearly fucking hit me. Right, shot down Seven said, that's not my name, but I have to be known as that because the creator god is fucked up. Aqua aid van, Seagull says wheelchair, MCGO van, G van, bonus of 3 motorbikes timed. Same again. The same at me twice again. Took 2 white. If I can get past that, it's because they're stuck in the traffic busier than usual. Bunzil van, black grey over drain cover, catalytic converter full control, catalytic converter stench, wind direction at me, sneezed over, chair in van, 19 starting cars, and in a controlled way, penis up motorbike at me, tingling bum hole and erection, more bikes and motorbike timed and angled at me, motorbike angled at me, and motorbike angled at me, made to something or rather, and then a feel good top, choked by catalyst, red car, rack van, white sexual car timed, sneezed at, spit talk in my face, knife him. Someone says bikes in a specific person's trailer, drains it, vehicles cut me up, 200 cars collide on this road, and it's starting to calm down a little bit, but it's still busy. This is that normal road I take. There's not usually 200 cars by this stage, but obviously they're stepping up the action. So obviously, even though I've been reported going at Barrack, I'm still going there because there's nothing else I can do because the weather's too hot. It's about 27 degrees Celsius out here. Right, so I managed to get off that road because that road is, you had roughly about 200 and something odd cars. There's about another 50 plus cars that occurred, mostly in the time period I was doing the recording. So there was still a few lingering, but on the initial part, going over the bridge, walking, because I was going to go on the bus to take a different route and go to a different place, but I missed the bus by a few minutes, so I decided to go back in this direction. And obviously there's a couple of things that I've hidden out and I want to take them back, because obviously if people are causing shit up here, I'm going to have to rearrange my schedule and go into a different destination in the future, and not so frequent when it comes there, although that shouldn't be the case because I haven't caused any problems and I haven't written any letters or left letters around claiming to rape women or whatever. Anyway, I saw 3 syringes. They were filled with liquid. I don't know if it's weed killer, HIV, venom or what it is, but just in case someone tries committing murder on somebody, I had to pick them up with a wild garlic leaf and chuck them away in an area where people couldn't get them, because obviously if we've got people that are psycho down here, then obviously they could use and pick them up and stab someone to death. The other thing I want to mention is there's a load of circles that's in like a white powder. I don't know if it's flour or whatever it is. These circles are about a foot big and they're loops, so they're not filled in, they're just circled loops. I don't know what it's suggesting, and they're occurring every so often when I'm walking towards the barrack direction. And there's also another one which is shaped like a walking stick, so you've got that U bend and it goes sort of down but only about halfway of a walking stick, and then you've got a line that goes across before another line that goes across about just under a foot between the powdered designs that's been tipped out with powder. While passing the farmhouse or whatever it is to cut over into the field, someone's written knife on the fence in black pen or permanent marker. At the time I was there, I had to get past a catalytic converter to get to the other side, because they seem to be timing vehicles to occur every time I go onto that track, to show me how a catalytic converter. In the field there's no problems. When I reached the catalytic converter hot point, there's a black mixed with yellow zigzag vehicle, followed by what looks like a bomb shaped car, but can also look like it's a bullet suggestion or even a gun suggestion, but at the same time could in some ways suggest a knife shaped vehicle all in one. Then you had a sexual car and a black and blue car. I got past there, past a dog walker. She said alright, this is a very old person, a granny, so I said alright back, being polite. After that, there's a bearded type person in his 30s. He started a row with me, saying he's going to fucking smash me and saying you're a fucking child rapist, thinking that my name is Sven. And I said, get your facts right and stop mouthing people off. And then he says, get back into Yeovil or something like that, aggressively saying, you don't live around here, you shouldn't be fucking walking up here every fucking day, you fucking sick cunt. So I said, I got as much right to walk around here as you have in Yeovil. And he says, don't fucking backchat me, because I will fucking smash you out now, and I'll take you down, and I'll fucking knife you to the floor. After that, I didn't say nothing, I just walked on, got the digital audio recording device out to audio record anything else that he wanted to say, but unfortunately that was the last thing he said, and then he walked on. After that, someone was trying to sneeze in my face. There was two more people that were coughing my way, and then someone in a sort of suggestive way as they were passing me and saying fucking sick. And then I make it to the chair where I sit at Jack the Treacle Eater. Right, so I did a walk for 30 minutes, struggling to do, which I usually do in about 10 minutes, but it's so bloody hot. It's 1 degree, but according to the forecast, it's 1 degree hotter today than it was when we had the heat wave in April of 2022. And all other Aprils before that were not hitting temperatures this high. Yeah, I think the maximum was about 24, 25 at a push. Going back before 2013, I don't recall there ever being an April where the temperature has been 25 degrees Celsius. Anyway, grey sexual car, Crow says child molester just. Dog barks child molester just in spastic. Someone says next Friday knife him, certainly Sven. Al says your 40s Justin, your 40s Justin. Black gun looking time, HIV needle said. Crow says molester fucked up Justin. Bird tweets fucked up Amy Westerland Justin. Fucked up child molester Will Lavington raped Stephanie. Shot dead Justin. Remember Justin? Raped F. Crow says pervert Justin. Bird says remember just, no one left. And then after that you had a HIV orange and white looking needle helicopter above. After that you had a lookalike to someone who sexually abused me as a child tying to an erection. Age UK van. Perfect fit. Snap-on van. Black white car, black white. Black white. Blue black grey white. Sick sick sick. Blue blue blue, yeah. And then obviously a bike only tying to an erection after that. Right, I've had some interesting suggestions occur. Just supposing what was coming out in this order, it does go in favour of a friend, a neighbour. But the likelihood is it's just a coincidence that it's come out in that suggestion to make that good suggestion for this specific person. It just might be a random suggestion, or the way it's come out, but who knows. So initially I see that person who's wearing "It's Your Lucky Night," but it's not being applied to me, because straight after there's a Pete's van on the road. But after that you had the BECKS, the Beck's van on top of that. Now basically what it's applying is "It's your lucky night," so it's Peter's lucky night, because the name of the van's Pete. So I do remember yesterday you had a van that said "Know the Future," and I think it came out a couple of days before that, or something like that, where the Pete's van and the Beck's van was coming out rather interestingly. I didn't really take much notice though back in that time period. I've only sort of clicked onto it now. Well, have good luck for him, you know. Just supposing it did come true, it'd be very interesting to see, you know, because obviously it'd be good for someone who's undergoing mental health issues to have a partner, you know, like myself. Obviously I'm not going to get anyone, or it's going to be more difficult with me because of my age, but you know, good luck if it works for him, you know. I mean, it might just be coincidence in the way it's coming out, but I've noticed it seems to be rather elaborate, but it's all positive, it's not negative, so you know, who knows. But anyway, I'll leave it there on that subject, because I'm about to enter another road area. Right, so Crow seems to be repeating, saying "Masturbate, Justin, no one left," and telling me to fuck a name of someone who sexually abused me as a child. Well, saying that, if a crow wants to say that, then if you look at the Holy Bible, it's violating the Holy Bible with what the animals are saying, which Jehovah, Yahweh, Allah, Jah and Jesus Christ is causing the animals to say. Because masturbation before marriage is a sin, and is a serious sin that the Bible takes very seriously, and it can lead you in the fire of hell. So, you know, makes you wonder who the Creator really is and what's being twisted in the Bible, because you have to masturbate, and also it's healthy to masturbate. It's good for people because it can actually be dangerous or something like that if you don't masturbate. If you're desperate for sex, it can cause, you know, many different problems, and this is why men have to masturbate. And men apparently have more of a sexual agenda than a woman, meaning that it hurts them more than it does a woman when it comes to needing sex. However, when it comes to reptilian hybrids, which are alien-bred human beings, which not many people have heard about, known as the reptilian race, they don't have a sexual urge, and they're not keen on sex, so they only have sex when they require needing to make children. Otherwise, when it comes to sexuality, they have no motion, because they have a different layout in the way their body is created from a human being. But anyway, if God wants to keep on taking the piss, just going to have to put up with it, because there's nothing I can do about it. There's not much I can do today either. I can't walk hardly anywhere. I can't do hardly anything. I don't expect temperatures to be in the middle, you know, in April, to be like it is in the middle of July. So I'm not very happy about it. There's a heat wave, but this is a piss take. Right, so let me update you on the last period of time. So initially I saw a dead snake. I'm not quite sure what snake it is. It doesn't look like an adder, it doesn't look like a grass snake, and it doesn't look like the smooth snake or the slow worm. But whatever snake it is, it's not alive anymore. So that's that. The next thing I want to mention is I did go for a walk, and I've been trying out new walking areas in the area where I go to, because I can't go too far because the temperatures. If I was to guess, I'd say the temperatures are somewhere around about 27 to 28 degrees Celsius today. I had 26 degrees Celsius in my kitchen last night with all the windows left open for the cool breeze to come in after I came back about 10 o'clock last night, or just past 10 o'clock from going for a walk or whatever. Yesterday I thought the temperature was about 25, 26, but the likelihood is it was about 23, 24 degrees Celsius. Maybe it's just because I felt hot. I could walk yesterday, and I could, I was sweating, but I could walk to some extent. Today I can't do anything. So these are temperatures are like the middle of July or August when it gets really hot. You know, at the end of summer, you know, when you've got the real hot weather in the summer, it's more like that today. So, yeah, it's very annoying, and I'm not too happy about it. But anyway, I did a new walk, but obviously I only got so far down the track because there's no shade, so I decided to turn around and come back and go back down the track where Jack the Treacle Eater is, near Barwick. I've not actually been into Barwick yet. I'm trying to eliminate going there at the moment, but I've got to go there because I have to go there for reasons, because I have to pass that area, and then there'd be times where I need to chill out in the church because because it's too hot to do anything or whatever. So someone's reported me for leaving a message or a piece of paper claiming that I'm trying to rape women in the graveyard. So I'm not very happy about it. So because it's not true. But anyway, you know, they're not going to stop me going now. I'm still going to go there because I have a right to. I haven't done anything wrong. But anyway, while doing that walk, initially there's hardly any setups on the road, so you had that crow that was telling me that I have to masturbate and that there's no one left, which goes against what the Bible says, the Holy Bible, or what God said. But anyway, when I got onto the road, there wasn't much traffic. It was just a steady flow of grey and white cars. Not too much in the way of suggestions, no vans and no bikes. I went down the track, felt that it was too hot to go down there, so I decided to come back and go back the other way. When I got to the road, they timed a van, and the van I've not seen before, but it says this: "You again." So I thought, yeah, me again. What's the problem with that? And then straight after that, the setups just kicked off. So you had black and blue cars, sexual cars, a knife-shaped car, and an aggressive pattern of trying to cause these cars to either smash me up or do other things. And there was 2 occasions with an overhanging trailer trying to rip my legs off, before I ended up going across into the hedge to get on a private area. But luckily you're only on that private area for about 45 seconds before you go onto the field, and then obviously cut across that field, you go to the next section, and then I get down this little bit of road, and then obviously I managed to get down to the track I'm on now. Down that little bit of road there was about 5 cars, nothing too suggestive, but at least I made it here. Crow says, "Sick cunt getting beat up." Crow says, "Shoot you dead." And passing Treacle Farm down Rex's Hollow Road, that I started coming into Barwick near Yeovil. Total sick cunt, being fucking shot down, said. Right, so after that a dog barks to say that you raped a specific name, but if I mention this man's name it would cause problems, and obviously there shouldn't be animal voice sounds coming out in this corrupt fucking pattern. Black car my way, and I'll repeat saying you're guilty. Someone said get back to Yeovil, you fucking rapist, Saven. Well, like I said, my name's not Saven, but he wanted an argument, and I wasn't in the mood for fucking shouting back or anything like that. I just had to put up with it because the temperatures are too hot to put up with people's fucking problems today. I don't know how these people get so excited, feel like they need to do more, or get more active when the hotter weather comes. I don't understand that, but they do seem to be like that. Incidentally, it's Rex's Hollow Lane and not Rex's Hollow Road. So you've had sick cunt, the bastard's being smashed up and fucking beat up, said. So, and then after that you had a yellow sexual car my way, a black and blue car, a Tesco van, and basically that's it. And more. Right, so there's already been 7 cars on this road and I've only just gone onto this fucking road. Take into account, before 7 weeks ago, so between July 2024 and 7 weeks ago, the record-breaking amount of cars in one direction is under 10 out of all the times I've been on this road since that time, until I came back from holiday where the government or the Creator God has stepped this action up. So I just seen a Stephanie Gill lookalike in a car as I enter Barrack Cemetery to put some water over my head because the temperature's outside, from the tap that's in the graveyard, because I'm feeling very ill at the moment, because obviously I'm not used to these Mediterranean temperatures in the UK, or these African temperatures in the UK, or Sahara desert temperatures near enough when we get heat waves. Anyway, a teenage girl in a car says molested Sadie Dando being smashed out. This person doesn't know me. I've never molested Sadie, but obviously you've got to take the shit that people are stirring up, and that's why I've had threats all my life. As I mentioned on other documentaries, 99.9% of all problems in my whole life is all down and because of sexuality. Yet when it comes to sexuality, the only sex I've had is basically being sexually abused as a child and nothing else, and I'm 43 years of age, coming up 44. The same happened in my last life, except I was a little girl in my last life. According to a past life psychic, I worked in a laboratory, died tragically, and said I was never in a relationship, but she said that I would have been one all the men would have fancied, and she said I had a very bad childhood as a little girl, being sexually abused as a child repeatedly when I was a child in my last life, a little girl. And setups since 2022 are applying and being ripped to pieces in my next life, and the same is going to happen again. Right, so I got to put up with the Creator God ramming down my throat, claiming that I've had sex with Sadie, repeatedly saying you fuck Sadie, you rape Sadie, without verifying the facts. But the Creator God just needs to ram it down my throat, to ram lies down at me, to fucking nail me as a sick cunt when I've never had sex with her. Right, so we've got black and fucking blue, white, black and fucking blue, white, black and fucking blue, black, white, black, grey, white, boner, some motorbike, Mitchell Delver van, joystick van, black and fucking blue, black sexual, black, 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 grey, black and fucking blue sec. Right, so after that we have a Lib Dems, which is a Liberal Democrats vehicle, and then a Raging to Kill t-shirt in my direction. Blue car timed, and then blue car, and then blue car. Reform UK sticker on a car window. Agree van, AGRII. And then after that there's a tractor with a pole facing my way, coming down the road where you can have 45 minutes without any vehicles, except when I'm on the road where it's all set up. Anyway, the pole is resembling the pistol of a gun, coming my way, and only my way, and slowly. Blue car, 6 cars down the road, 6 cars down that road, and dust blown into me from up where the cars are coming past after I passed that tractor. And then you've got the bird repeating saying you molested Sadie when I've never had sex with her. Right, Codfather van, sexual car, and 8 times loud bite time to an erection, a Turner's van, and a guarantee van. So obviously they're stepping up the action to tell me that God's turned against me, and want to rip me to pieces and sexually destroy me and fucking end my life. I want to talk about the parties of London, you know, the government parties, like the Green Party, the Labour Party, the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, you name it. I just want to talk about the suggestions and what's being applied. So obviously you had the suggestion that the Liberal Democrats want you ripped to pieces, but there was a slight issue going back at the time, because they were also making the suggestion that also Reform UK want you destroyed. Between April last year and when the election took place in June last year. And obviously, as I was passing a sign that was saying vote Liberal Democrats, winning here, that would have been when they were timing that van that says ripping you to pieces on the side of it, which is a disused stationary van that sells paper, ink cartridges, printers and stuff like that, but it's disused and it still has that name on the side of it. Obviously I've had problems with those people in that van because they've mistaken me as Sir Ben before now. However, when they saw me on a regular basis passing that specific sign, they started laughing and beeping their horn as they passed me, and eventually they put vote Liberal Democrats on the side of their van in their own sort of design rather than the proper orange logo. Anyway, they did win the election for the local election in Yeovil, where I live. But as far as London goes, it was Labour that got in power, and there was no suggestions to apply that Labour want you ripped to pieces. However, when it comes to Labour wanting me ripped to pieces, the suggestion hasn't really been made that many times. It's occurred here and there. I wouldn't say it's been more than about 20 times, if that, but it has been suggested. It's mostly suggesting that we want you ripped to pieces and destroyed, you know, and killed. But when it has been suggested, it seems to be mostly this year when they suggested that Labour wants you destroyed, from about November last year. But like I said, it's only happened about 20 times, and that's since that time. Anyway, when it comes to the Green Party, there hasn't really been any suggestions to rip me to pieces. When it comes to Conservatives, there doesn't seem to be much in the way of them wanting me destroyed and suggestions of these setups. But the main party in particular, and they're not in power, is called Reform UK. When it comes to that specific party, and it's all picking up in recent days, they want to make the suggestion that Reform UK are the main party that want me ripped to pieces and destroyed and fucking hit off, through the suggestion of these setups. Now, they've suggested Reform UK ripping me to pieces over 100 times since November last year, and it's the main party they seem to be pissing about with when it comes to the suggestion of these setups to wanting me destroyed, killed or sexually hanged or anything else out of all other parties that have been suggested. When it comes to the Conservative Party, it's been suggested under 5 times in the last 5 years, mostly since last year to now. And I don't actually think there's been any suggestions this year where they're applying that the Conservatives want me destroyed. When it comes to the Liberal Democrats, that's kind of died out as well. It's here and there, but not very frequently. And in total, you probably had about 30 times, maybe 40 times, where they were suggesting it. And it's mostly back in the time when they were getting in power. Now, this might not be set up by the government. It might be the elite or another corrupt organisation that's causing these forces to occur, or suggestions to occur, with no ethics, science, technology, or programming everyone's movement to be in my direction in this awkward manner, or to try and kill me. But when it comes to Reform UK, they're really, really hitting hard with me on it. So there's been about 100 suggestions, you know, and all the other. And when it comes to the Labour Party, there's been about 20 suggestions this year, and there's several more last year as well. I didn't count how many last year, but there was quite a few, but not too many. It wasn't really until we hit November last year that that was being suggested, but there was quite a few times, and about 20 times this year. But as far as Reform UK go, that seems to be the main party this year that these setups want to make the suggestion of who's going to rip me to pieces or kill me or sexually hang me or stop me getting sex. I don't know why that is, but that seems to be the main party. Obviously they're not even in power, so you know, that's interesting. If they were in power, then obviously they fucked up, but obviously Reform UK are not in power. But I do want to say something. That specific party, when it comes to Reform UK, they're trying to apply strongly that I'm being ripped to pieces and making the suggestion that they want to sexually hang me. But I just want to go back a little bit, and this is to late last year and also possibly the beginning of this year. I can't remember what time period it was. All those setups were applying that the Reform UK party want me destroyed and hit off when it comes to setups walking out and about. As far as the media, as far as the media goes, the internet or whatever, they were trying to make suggestions that Justin Langford's life's going to change and that he's going to get a sex partner, and that when he gets that sex partner he's going to change and reform into another person, making it sound like Reform UK will follow the steps of my life getting better by a sexual woman coming into a sexual relationship with me, and that it's time for Reform UK to change that. However, going outside what was suggested on the internet, and that stopped being suggested on the internet since around January 2020 this year, and the setups are having a reverse suggestion. They're just making the suggestion they want me ripped to pieces and all the rest of it. So wherever you walk or whatever you do, it's totally different to what they're suggesting on the internet up until January this year. So I just wanted to mention that. I want to mention something else. It's the last thing I want to mention. Obviously, last year, not long after Labour got in power, so a couple of months after they got in power, they were suggesting on the internet that Justin Langford, which is myself, is going to get a sexual girlfriend, and that Reform UK need to go into power to change all of this and to improve my life, but also to make it known that the change is taking place and that they succeeded, and that it's time to kick Labour out and for Reform UK to go into power. Now obviously that's not going to happen because Labour got in power, but even though they were in power at that time, that's what the internet was suggesting. So they were suggesting, soon as Justin Langford, which is myself, gets in a sexual relationship with that perfect person that he's been wanting all his life, then obviously that's when Reform UK are going to kick Labour out. However, that's unlikely to be the case, because I'm not going to get anyone, because nobody likes me, and people keep complaining about the age gap, and as I said on other videos, everyone's a single mother, and they keep trying to force me to go with the negative looking type that I can't take to because of my age. If you go on yesterday's documentary where I was mentioning all these problems yesterday about the job centre and cutting my benefits or whatever, go through that for more information of what I've been saying to explain the sexuality bits that I'm mentioning now. It'll be a lot more easy to do that way than me spending the next 45 minutes trying to explain. So what I'm asking for, or what I have been asking for since I was legal age of 16, is a sexy looking person that I can fancy and enjoy sex with, to a point where it's as good as like when I was sexually abused as a child, and someone that's not a single mother. If you can't provide that, then that's not good enough. But nowadays I'm being told that I've got to go with people double the age of people that raped me as a child, uglier than people that raped me as a child, and basically telling me I'm not supposed to enjoy the sex like people raping me as a child, which is no good. That's locked you into fucking buckled mode. Anyway, they won't ever get in power then, will they? If you want to look at it on that principle, because Reform UK are not going to get in power unless they violate the issue of sexuality when it comes to Justin Langford. And I mean, they were making the suggestion strong last year that I was going to get in a sexual relationship and things were going to change. And they were making also the suggestion that if Justin gets a girlfriend at Reform UK, which makes change, they were doing it symbolically, like playing with your mind. But the problem is, they're making it sound like they're hinting it so that everyone can pick up on it, if you get what I'm saying, so that everyone would be aware of it. Now, obviously, I don't have anyone yet, so that's probably why Reform UK isn't in power. But if they were to go into power, when I still haven't got anyone, then they'd be deceiving and lying against the suggestions that were strongly imposed of last year up to the beginning of this year. Now, the other thing I want to mention is, as far as setups go, walking about is a totally different issue altogether, because the setups going out are vehicles to rip my legs off from behind, telling me I need to be hit off, telling me I'm being destroyed, sexually crucified, sexually hanged, stopped from getting sex, and just being taken to fucking pieces, and told to take and setups to suggest that I'm going to be taken to pieces in my next life and be ripped to pieces in every life I live. So it's a totally different scenario to the suggestions that they were applying on the internet, or making, the suggestions they were making. So, how is it going to work in the future? I'd like to know. Will I actually get a partner in the future? Or will Reform UK go into power regardless to the suggestions made back at that time? Now, obviously, it all depends on what people vote for and what things, what happens, basically. But it doesn't work on that principle, you see. It works on a rational principle of the rational things that go on in government and what people do and what people are happy with and the types of things that they put in place and that sort of thing. So it's not going to work on the principle of me getting in a sexual relationship before change takes place with a positive outcome from Reform UK. But they wanted to hint that. That's the problem. And they weren't hinting it once or twice. This was over a period of several months. So that I found that really interesting. But at the same time, when it comes to me walking about, it's just negative setups making the suggestion we want you ripped to pieces, and making the suggestion because you won't kick Jesus Christ out of you, you've got to be taken to pieces and destroyed and whatever. And it just goes on and on like that, So I don't know what you make of this, but I'm not too happy about it, but and they're still doing it today. So let's see what else they set up later on, shall we? Right, so I'm down that road where there can be 45 minutes without any vehicles, and there has been 30 minutes without a vehicle, believe it or not, while documenting this issue with the government. But there we are. Always timed. And another one. Just before that, I wanted to mention that there was a sexual car timed, and timed to my penis shooting up, there was a bicycle timed. So all this, there's been no vehicles, no bikes, I don't know about bikes, but there's been no vehicles on this road for nearly 30 minutes. And I've just come onto this road, and you've had 2 vehicles timed. Which of those 2 that just happened now? Right, so the last several minutes they've just been timing motorbike up on motorbike, slammed to my fucking penis going up. But that's not what I want to mention. When I got onto the dead end section to come onto the field, I saw that lady with the Sophie t-shirt. So she walked my way. No motion, she just looked like she was very hot because of the weather. Didn't really look at me, was just walking past, sort of like she's like hot and bothered, Anyway, straight after that, there's an older woman that's sneezing in my direction, just repeatedly sneezing one after the other. So I thought to myself, well, what do? She's coming in my direction. So I started to walk back slowly, thinking, which direction do I go? And as I was walking back, they timed that van that says, what's it called? Oh, fuck's sake, I've forgotten the name of it now. It's all over. That's right. So basically what they're saying there is, Sophie, it's all over. There is no Sophie. is not coming true. Well, if that's the case, why make the suggestion in the first place to suggest I'm going to get in a sexual relationship with someone called Sophie? If several days later they're going to violate the issue and time a van that says it's all over. You know, because that's what happened. I had to turn directions because I was being sneezed at, and they timed that van saying it's all over. Well, obviously, if Reform UK go into power, I'm sure they're going to do very well now, aren't they, with their issue of improving lives, if they want to put it in that way, or make the suggestions very strongly on the internet over a 3-month or 4-month period to apply that Justin Langford's to get in a sexual relationship with a sexual looking person, and hinting that. But they were hinting this very, very hard. I mean, this was not like suggestions. This was really, really, I mean, you know, it's difficult to explain. Obviously it's done in a way, it's in like a catch your mind sort of way. But, you know, the way it was being done was really interesting. I've mentioned this time and time and again, especially last year. But anyway, come November last year, all these setups got a lot heavier when it came to going out. And obviously, all this structural force became mayhem, and it tried to make everyone's movement as heavy as possible, and to control everyone's movement, to control me with as much action, to cause as much mayhem, as much mess, and to cause it to be as built up as they could possibly do it. Most days, right until now, near enough, with just the occasional day where it hasn't happened, or when I go on walks like this where I'm avoiding the built up areas. So, I don't know what you want to say about this, but now they're telling me that they're going to mess it up. Well, I've not even seen this Sophie, and they're telling me it's through already. You know, I'm sure like I said, I'm sure I don't want to make the suggestion Reform UK's going in power and that your life's going to change, and that all things are going to get better. But, you know, it's like I was saying a bit earlier, not too long ago. When it comes to outside setups, this force is against me nastily, negatively, and outright malicious. When it comes to the media, well, I wouldn't say the media, but when it comes to the internet or suggestions that politicians are making or whatever, they seem to be thinking that my life's going to change or like stuff like that. But it could be just... But why? If it's not going to happen, why make that suggestion? Or is it to make the suggestion to everybody else so that they believe it when I'm still single if Reform UK go into power? What's actually going on? I'll leave that for you to decide, because I don't know. But I'll leave it there. There's something else that I want to mention regarding corruption and force. You've got two forces battling each other. So you've got the force of where you've got everyone starting on me, and where I'm in a controlled trap 24/7 on a daily basis, which I can't escape, with setups, you know, wording on vehicles, trying to cause overhanging trailers to rip my legs off, suggestion to say I'm a sick bastard, I'm being sexually crucified, being ripped to pieces, having my life taken apart, and causing everybody to photograph me, to send my photo around to everybody so that they can get other people to smash me and or hit me off. They're controlling my movement like that, persistently, in a controlled trap that you can't escape, that's fixed and occurs daily, and has been occurring daily for many, many years. And then you've got this other force, like people in authority or governmental force, that's been suggesting over a 4-month period in particular of last year to apply that Justin needs a girlfriend, and obviously he's had a bad life and it's respectable to let that person have someone, and it's time for that change to take place and all that sort of stuff, you know. But the problem is, although they might be saying this or suggesting that, it's not going to happen while you're in that separate trap of this organised force that's hitting out around you 24/7, that's inescapable. Anyway, the next thing I wanted to mention is going back to the 1990s, 1994, Jim and Phil, known as Source Direct, were only 17 years of age, and they produced a jungle track titled Sound of Life, Intellect. When they made that track, they made it properly. All the brakes are lined up properly, the bass lines are put in there properly, and all the sounds are put in there properly, and it sounds identical to a proper underground jungle track of 1994. You know, They're all the sort of same type of sounding tracks in that year when it comes to the underground scene. Now you may think to yourself, someone at the age of 17 having the power to make a track that's that hard would be incredible. And I want to mention something else. People in that age group, going back to the 1990s, they'd go with people in sexual relationships with people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and maybe even 60s, if there are circumstantial issues regarding someone's life, such as if they've been sexually abused or had a bad life. They would make that exception and allow that man in his 60s to have sex with a 17 or 18-year-old person. You wouldn't see that today. I'm just talking about the past. And people weren't so one-minded back in those days, and people weren't so dry and sarcastic. You had some form of sarcasm and nastiness, but it was a different type of accent than what it is today. Today's more small-minded, it's one-minded thinking. And people are nastier, more violent, and more murderous-minded, and more violent-minded, and more dangerous, and they got you down as a sick bastard today as well. Anyway, let's move on to the people of today compared to the people back then. Where Source Direct was producing hard, heavyweight underground jungle back in his teens, like when he was 16 to 18 or whatever, an 18-year-old woman today would have unicorns all over her room, Disney films in her bedroom, Humpty Dumpty, that sort of stuff. It would be much different. They'd see themselves as very delicate. They'd say to themselves, oh, I've got smooth skin, I'm very delicate, I can't go with a man that's over the age of 30 or stuff like that. Or say, I'm a very delicate person, I'm very young. You know, they've changed dramatically, and that is why it's going to be almost impossible for me to find someone of a younger age, or other people that have not had anyone in their whole life, to find anyone of a younger age as it stands in modern times. You might get the occasional person that's not small-minded, that can open up to the reality of working out someone's life, but also you've got to take into account people are treated the same today. So if you're 44 years of age like myself, been sexually abused and not had sex in your whole life, you'll be treated the same as someone that's been in many relationships or had sex when they were teenagers. They wouldn't make circumstantial changes to help people that haven't had anyone. You're treated the same as everybody else. They're one-minded. Everyone's one-minded. They're small-minded. They've got a more dry and sarcastic accent. They're nastier in the head. Their brains are more vicious. And they're cold-hearted people. A bit like reptilian animals, basically. So it's like that these days. So I just wanted to mention that. So anyway, the reason I bring all this up is because going back to 2011, while this was starting to begin, obviously this has been going on really since about 2005 onwards. That's the sort of turning point of where ladies were starting to moan about people's ages, or starting to moan about accepting people on dating sites unless they know you in person, or not into people that they don't know in person. That's the sort of turning point. But even back in 2011, there were just a few people left that may make that exception, but now it's everybody. So what happened back then is they were making the suggestion through media, or something at that time, that I was going to get a sexy partner, and that this person's turned 18, and I think that person's an adult, so obviously that adult's going to go with me, regardless of me being 10 years old or whatever it was at that time. But they didn't expect for that person to moan about my age, which surprised them, and they gave that suggestion through symbolical suggestions or whatever back at that time, or through control. But what really surprised them in particular is what I'm about to tell you about now. Gemma Ferguson, we went into a lockdown, and I was walking into Gemma Ferguson on a regular basis on the beach when we were in that lockdown time period. Every day, in fact. And because of that, I started speaking to her, and she started speaking to me, and started saying alright. There'd be off days, and then there'd be days where she'd be alright. But it didn't go any further than that. And sometimes when we saw each other, there was a kind of a laugh that took place when I saw her. Anyway, time went on, we went into the second lockdown, and you had another person who was a bit younger than Gemma, and not so serious looking or long in the face. However, she had rougher skin than Gemma, but also she was a single mother of 3 children. I'm not sure what her name is, but there's a possibility she was called Gemma as well, with a very similar appearance, but she was younger and less attractive looking. Anyway, I spoke to her and said alright a couple of times to her as well, but I knew the difference between the two. Anyway, I spoke to Gemma in the YMCA shop on one occasion while she was carrying a box in my direction. So I said alright, and she said something like alright, and I thought that was quite incredible. I can't remember, it's more than a couple of words, and didn't really say much after that. And then obviously I was pretending to be like polite, you know, sort of, because I was feeling low that day or whatever. And then I left that shop. When I moved to Yeovil, I decided to leave a note privately in a letter asking if she fancies meeting up for a coffee, getting to know each other a bit better. And I explained the situation, that I'd moved to Yeovil, and I wish I didn't move to Yeovil because things just suddenly kicked off as soon as I moved there. However, I didn't let people know that things were getting worse immediately, because it would have looked bad on me if I mentioned it to staff at supported housing where I live in now. But anyway, going back to this Gemma business, when I left that letter there, which I did show the staff at supported housing, and they told me as long as you actually do know her or you have spoken to her, what you put in that letter I don't see as a problem, but be careful all the same. Anyway, after I showed the staff the letter, I got on the bus, I took it to the charity shop, and I left it in the charity shop for her. She phoned me up that evening saying that who the fuck do you think you are, asking a 30-year-old fucking woman if she wants to fucking go out for a fucking coffee with you when I don't even fucking know you, and saying you gotta prey on a 30-year-old woman, you fucking sick as fuck cunt, you sad cunt, 30 years of age, you gotta prey on a 30-year-old woman when you're 40 or whatever it was. I was at the time, it was 39 or 40, I can't remember what age I was, and saying you sick as fuck bastard, and said you just landed your whole fucking life in jeopardy, saying I'm going to report the police on you. And then she said no, I'm not going to report the police, and said that's it, you got everyone after you, you said you just lost your life, you made the biggest mistake ever, you don't fucking prey on a 30-year-old woman or something like that. She said something like that, I can't remember what it was. And then she said bye, and it was quite rough, it was quite nasty shouting, rougher than what I'm speaking now, and more toned up and more sinister. So I got quite worried. Just a month or so later was when that person pretended to be Scott, wanted to smash me up on the railway track at Highbridge and had me knife dead, where he met up in Bridgewater instead, but he thought I was Sven. I'm not sure what his name is, but that's the name he gave. But there could be other people that could be related to, rather than from this Gemma or whatever. It could be anybody that caused that. It could have even been, you know, Michael Jackson prostitute, for example, that negative ugly prostitute that scammed me for no sex, basically. It could have been her. It could have been anybody. It could have been one of Sadie's friends, you know. It could have been anybody. It wouldn't have been any of the Dandos, I know that. It wouldn't have been connected to them, but it could have been connected to any of their friends, Kim, Amanda. It could have been anyone. But anyway, going back to this Gemma business, after I put that letter and on that and I received that nasty phone call, the military, or who have this suggestion of organised force against me, or media control or whatever, they were making the suggestion that you know, through, you know, some hints, if basically trying to grab your mind, trying to make the suggestion that things have just worked out and that you're getting together and that things are good. And they didn't realise that they messed up, and they were telling me that I'm stupid with all these setups. How fit can you get? You need to go and get with her now, change, quick, go and see her, you know, making suggestions like that. And then eventually, months and months passed, maybe a year or so passed, and then they realised that she turned. So they started making suggestions with the upside down mirror sign on the Daily Mirror newspaper, and on one occasion made a Gemma Ferguson lookalike occur. I can't remember if it's on the front page or somewhere on the Mirror or on the internet or something, or rather to apply that they found out. And then obviously straight after that you had the start of the war with the Ukraine and Russia that merged in that time period as well, and that was the end of all that. Anyway, one other thing I want to mention, just supposing I was to get with Gemma, which is obviously not going to happen now because she's turned against me and she's got another person. However, she has been in a relationship before with someone called Ashley, but at the time that I was speaking to her, they were separated. I've never found out if she's a single mother or not, but I don't think she is, and it's the only person that I have spoken to or whatever that's sexual looking that's not a single mother. But regardless of what situation is, she doesn't like me and she's made it clear, and she said if you go anywhere near the shop you're being reported to the police. So obviously I left it because I'm doing the right thing, because I don't want to stir shit or cause trouble or get myself hurt or anything like that. So I just left it. Just supposing I was to go with her though, there'd be exactly the same age gap between me and her as it would my parents when they were together. But anyway, I'll leave it there on that subject. Another thing I want to mention regarding Gemma goes back 7 years roughly before I left a note in that shop when I moved to Yeovil. So this goes back before I even knew her name. But basically what happened was, obviously she would have been a bit more sexual looking going back 7 years before than what she would have been now, but obviously she's never been a sexy type, just a basic sexual looking type, a type that you can fancy, that's sexy or have sex with, but someone that's not, you know, one of those beauty types, just a basic sexual looking lady that you can fancy. Anyway, if we go back 7 years before that, and 7 years before that malicious phone call, I passed that charity shop and she was in the charity shop, and there was two enemies that passed me. One's a little bit older than me and one was a bit younger, and because they were digging at me on sexuality or calling me a sick so and so whatever, they did actually say this to me as they walked past: I'm surprised he can actually fancy that Gemma that works in there, considering he's a sick cunt, a weirdo. Because and basically said that sick people wouldn't fancy that Gemma. And that goes back 7 years before. And then 7 years later, she's telling me I'm a sick cunt because I'm asking her if she wants to go for a coffee with me. Saying that you're preying on a woman that's only the age of 30 years of age. That's 30, not 13. Right, so there hasn't been a single vehicle on that road for nearly an hour. And as soon as I get to that gate, all the traffic suddenly occurs. I mean, I can't guarantee that 100%, but I haven't heard any traffic, and you can hear the traffic from that area. They've timed a grey car and a white van, and obviously also you've had a flying creature say child molester. I just want to mention something else. The oldest person to have a go at me about my age on a dating site, or when it comes to asking if someone's single or wanting sex or whatever, is 36, and that occurred when I was 42. And she had a go at me saying that you're a sick bastard, and that you're preying on a woman age 36, and that you should be looking at older people, and telling me that I'm, you know, getting really nasty about it. Obviously, since that time occurred, there have been people exactly the same age start on me saying that you should be with people over the age of 40, or you get your head kicked in or be knifed or stuff like that. Now I think that's a rather ridiculous high age to be complaining about someone the age of 44. So I'm coming up 44 this year, so she'd be something like 37 or something like that. But there's no need to fucking close the age gap to that extent to tell you that you're a sick cunt if you don't go with anyone over the age of 40. when she was 36. You know, at the time, as I said, I was 42 and she was 36, and I nearly ended up in a bad situation of people getting angry, wanting to kill me or to smash me to pieces because of the age gap. And take into account that's only a few years age difference between me and her, and they're doing it more frequently at the moment. Just a couple of days ago, I had a woman, who I think it's yesterday in fact, a woman say that she's 36 years of age and that you shouldn't be fancying a lady that age or you're fucking whatever. They're just trying to bike to an erection with a rough person on it because they want to tell me that I'm on my bike. But anyway, I'll leave it there on that subject. Right, so there's been another 7 cars on the road where there hasn't actually been any vehicles on that road or the bike that I just mentioned for 1 hour. It's only occurring, that's actually one of the longest time gaps that I've known since last year while being in the field, because since I've done these recordings there's been no traffic on that road, and you can actually hear the traffic from that road from where I was. So I don't know why this is happening, but it is. So you had a black and blue car, a grey, red, and whatever the other car was, a couple of others. I can't remember the colour because I wasn't taking much notice because I was trying to document this. So anyway, I'm going to try and get to that road because that's where I aim to go, because I want to do a walk, because I haven't completed the walk that I wanted to do today. But I'm happy that it's late in the evening because it means I have less time to wait when I start my drinking later on of drinking vodka. I don't have to keep pushing the buttons to do as many recordings as possible, but they've just timed another 17 cars on this road. There's a gun looking fucking car in front. 17 cars on this road, yet the last hour there's been no cars at all. There we are, car after car, and now they're bringing that sun. Fucking hell, they did that yesterday. The Willie up bike time, hang on, gun looking timed. This is what I mean, they're fucking nasty, these bastards. These bastards that are setting all this up have probably been in sexual relationships under the age of 40. There we are, car coming this way. There we are, turn it into a fucking motorway, Downing Street or whoever's causing it. Gun looking, hang on. Willie's very high over bike. Willie up bike. I didn't see what colour that is. Black, grey, white. Fucking hell. Yeah, they want to cause as much madness, as much mayhem, stack as much shit as they can on me, and cause as much fucking trouble as they can fucking stir, and stack as much built up traffic as they can fucking cause. Going back to November to, was it February? I can't remember now. There was not a single aisle in a shop apart from 70 aisles out of all shops I went into, and there's quite a lot of shops I went into, so there's 70 aisles or less than 70 aisles where people weren't timed in my direction in that time period in November until February. Just 70 aisles where it's clear. Otherwise people were timed, and in most cases these people were sneezing in my face. That's how they got it constructed. And also between November and February of this year, there is not a single shop doorway that I've walked into or walked out of without someone being timed in the doorway. And in most cases, or half of those cases, they time people to sneeze in my face. And when it comes to built up traffic or people coming out their houses or messing up pictures that I take on the very rare cloudy days that you get, well, you don't get cloudy days as such, but when a cloud does come over, very rarely, there are specific pictures I like taking. They're just timing people to be about, controlling the traffic flow and controlling everything to stop me getting those pictures. Right, so over here you've got a road and they've just been timing a load of fucking setups. Right, so you had message to you van, that's message number 2, and you van. Smash you to pieces, rubble smashing flatbed lorry, the actual lorry, not a lookalike, the actual lorry. Just in time van, which is the just in time van I saw yesterday with the double barrel alarm clock. I've not actually managed to photograph the evidence of that yet, but the problem is I still got my camera on me, I've still not got the other one in the post, so when I get that other one in the post I can take that out. So if I'm taking pictures I can't guarantee they come out, because obviously you've got a light that flickers and the screen display doesn't work, so any photos I take is not guaranteed. You just have to hope for the best. I mean, a couple have come out, but unfortunately it's not the strongest suggestions, but I have had a couple of pictures that have come out that I've taken, but not of these setups or these hard suggestions that I'm mentioning now. After that just-in-time van, you had a splatter van, a blood van, you had the van that looks like razor wire all over it, you had like a black and yellow zigzags on a cement mixer type looking lorry, but a proper size lorry, not that's turning around. That's a couple of black and blue cars, red, white, up the age van, Granny's for You van, bus. What I should have done is try and filmed it actually, because this, so yeah, they've just done that in that order, and the FedEx van, Rent-A-Kill van, and a very fast lorry, spelled F-E-R-R-Y, fast. So obviously they're getting nasty with these setups. I mean, they're getting more controllable. A lot of the people are not going to believe anything I say, because what's happening now, because they know they can set it up in this way and get away with it, they're making it more suggestive, and they're getting it all done as like a message, but a very strong message. But they're only doing it because they know they can get away with it. Because I've reported this many times in the past and I can't do nothing about it, because it's put down as schizophrenia, paranoid thoughts, or coincidence. And obviously, since I moved to, well, basically since the end of the lockdown, when they stepped all this action up, it's been like it all the time. Nobody believes it, you see. It's coming out so obviously that if you mention it, people will say, oh no, if it's coming out like that, you're making it up. Or saying, oh, but you're not. That's the problem. That's the way it's coming out. And there's always at times, or inconvenient times, of when your camera doesn't work, or when the battery goes flat in the camera, or when your camera freezes due to another issue or something like that. So I don't know, there's nothing you can do about it. I'm just trying to work out what that noise is from behind. Sounds like someone with a loudspeaker. Maybe it's me, I don't know. So yeah, that's just happened, and I'm not making that up, and it's come out in that order. So most days what they tell me is to tell you that you're supposed to fancy a granny. You're supposed to fancy Shingles attraction, or fancy what looks like a person that's full of disease, or what looks like sick off the floor. They're telling me I'm a sick cunt if I fancy anyone that's sexual. But you've got to take into account, where they're getting so brutally nasty and vicious about these setups, they're actually timing people older than me that are sexual looking, nailing me as a sick bastard, even though these people are older than me, and they're timing vehicles to smash me to pieces, overhanging trailers to rip my legs off, to nail me as a sick cunt for fancying a woman that can be up to 10 years older than me, of a sexual looking type, because they made a mistake. And I don't know why this is happening. These bastards are just absolutely crazy. And since 2022, they've been making the suggestion that they're not just going to rip me to pieces in my next life, or sexually abuse me as a child in my next life, but they're going to put me in a fireplace and play about with me in poker sticks and rituals. They've made the suggestion for many years that they're going to rip me to pieces in my next life and stop me getting sex in my next life, and the fact that they're going to sexually molest me in my next life. But when it comes to playing about with me in a fireplace, drinking my blood, or pushing me about with poker sticks, or burning me in a fireplace, that suggestion didn't come in until 2022. But there was a mild version of that suggestion just as we came out of the lockdown into the increased action that occurred after the lockdown, because all the setups increased big time. And also, when we came out of that lockdown, they timed a person that looks like myself to chase a girl while I was at the bus stop. Obviously this person had different clothing, but he resembled my face, and he looked very similar to me, and I was at the bus stop waiting for the bus. Where this bloke chased that girl, I was being mistaken as that person. So I had to tell this bloke, if you're going to start on me, I'll have to get the police, because obviously they're causing that sort of thing to happen as well, and they're causing all sorts of problems. And this is why people are getting at me and that. Other people's crimes are coming back at me because I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time, because of the way they're rigging up everyone's movement around me to be this fucking corrupt and fucking buckled. But as soon as we came out of that lockdown, they re-rigged all this setup up they've got all this organised force against me, much more stern and much more nasty and much more malicious. You open a sandwich, around the corner, someone will be trying to sneeze in your face. Then when you turn back the other way, someone will sneeze in your face again. Where you go to cross the road, you get an overhanging trailer to rip your legs off to stop you crossing the road. And it's controlled in that way. Every fucking step you take on that path is controlled. And this is why I don't have a sex partner. Because these evil bastards that are doing this won't stop it. And this has been going on for years. It could have gone on even back in the days before I initially noticed it. Because before 2005, I was looking at it as God turning and coincidence. But obviously, that's not the case. It's being rigged up. If you go back before 2005, it was a case of timing rough people, rough crowds at me, and timing these nasty happy hardcore ravers threatening to smash me and to beat me up or to knife me or whatever, because they were crazy and they thought it was cool to be crazy, and they were like all pilled up or having cider to drink, you know, in massive groups of 10 or more. They could be any age, from about the age of 8 right up to the age of 40, and in some cases older than that, but it's rare. And they were just all together, they were in groups like that, even that age of 40 and above. So, you know, that really pissed me off, because, you know, they were probably getting off with the teenagers as well, you know, and in some cases they probably had illegal sex with those that are even younger than that. But I'm not going to say anything on that because I don't know the ins and outs of what they were doing, because I've only ever seen them in groups of big crowds where they're off their head drinking and fucking getting fucked. And it's not sorts of people that you want to get involved with, because they're rough people and very hard. And they're all happy hardcore ravers back in those days. But anyway, I'll leave it there on that subject. Something else I noticed is when we came out of the lockdown, and not before the lockdown, but when I was passing grannies, talking about people dying from coronavirus and all the rest of it, this is interesting, this. They would actually time a van with laughing faces on it, or a cheering van and a yeah van together, when people are talking about other people dying or families dying from the coronavirus outbreak back in the early days of when we came out of the lockdown, and when they reconstructed all this control force against me in this malicious way, which happens 24/7. Just 8 months, maybe a year a push, before we went into the lockdown, these setups died out, and they were making the suggestion that I paid the price for sexual sins that I've not committed, including Sadie and Stephanie, when I've never had sex with them. But they were also saying that I paid the price for something else as well, which is some graffiti I did in 2005. But come October, November, December, or whatever it was, just before we went into the lockdown, I was actually walking into sexy types of people, but it didn't go nowhere. And then straight after that, all this force control came to an end. We went into a lockdown. We went through a stage where everything was silent, and then there was a build-up of a reconstruction of a new setup of control force against me, which is 4 times heavier, 4 times more malicious, 4 times more psycho and raging than it's ever been before. You have had those days before the lockdown, and they were occurring mostly when I had to go to places like the police station or Crown Court, or go to a dental appointment, or go to an appointment or whatever. They step up the action on those types of days. But you know, so it's never been nice, this action, but it's been a lot more nastier than what it was before the lockdown. This controlled force that's been going on around me, especially since 2005, but first noticed in 1997, it's daily. It doesn't end, it's fixed, it's controlled. But one thing that did piss me off in particular was going back to when my nan died a few years ago. When I was coming back home, the wording on vehicles or t-shirt names or whatever were coming out as a message to say, we got rid of one other person, one less person to feed, or making the suggestion, got rid of that, and we need lots more to go, come on, you know, sort of thinking and cheering about it, you know, and making the suggestion that it's funny when people die, you know. So they were making all that sort of suggestion. Where it's these people that were suggesting that have all this control force around me 24/7, even though they've made suggestions to try and twist my mind to make it sound like it's positive, with sexual positive setups going back a month ago for a 3-day period, lasting over a period of 6 days except the 5th day, and then here and there, and then going back to yesterday or whatever day it was, where there was some good suggestions, but in most cases they're telling me to be in a sexual relationship with people that raped me as a child, or telling me that I'm being ripped to pieces, and all that sort of stuff. And also, since 2008, they've been timing loud bikes to every erection. It wasn't so bad then, there's only half the bikes on the road, but between 2015 and 2017 area, 2 of those years in particular, they got every single bike on that road timed to every single erection of that year. And that includes going to the toilet, impulses, sexually excited impulses in my penis. They got every bike on the road. I don't know how they do it. No matter what time of day or night it is, or early hours, or if it's Boxing Day, Christmas Day, they managed to fix my fucking penis like a pulley to every loud bike of those 2 years. I can't remember which one it is, because it's between 2015 and 2017. So it's either 2015, 2016 and 2017. One of those years also, you had less than 40 loud bikes that weren't timed to the issue of the bike. So that's basically 3 years. Take away 40 bikes that have been timed to every erection or going to the toilet or whatever. I'm on that road where you can have 45 minutes without a vehicle. I'm surprised that there was no traffic on the road that I just came out of. Obviously it's passing now, maybe I was walking a bit quicker than they anticipated. But now they got this road. It'll be interesting to know how many vehicles have been on this road in the period of time that I was up there. Especially when you had that hour gap where there was no vehicles at all earlier. And now I'm coming off of there to go onto the track. One other thing I want to mention, since they've increased all this action against me after the lockdown, is timing someone that looks like someone who sexually abused me as a child, timed to an erection, is being increased big time. It happened before the lockdown, but it was not that frequent. But nowadays, since we came out of all the lockdowns, you can get this occur up to 10 times a day, and sometimes on a daily basis. But it's a near enough a daily thing. But regardless of that occurring, the loud bike timed to an erection is fixed to your penis like a pulley, regardless of any other suggestions that are being enforced on your penis. But there's one thing that's really annoying me, and again, this started since we came out of the lockdown. Right, sir, I'm here, I'm getting an erection. You've got the loud bike, because the loud bike is fixed regardless, and then about 10 seconds later you go around this corner not knowing what's around this corner, and there'll be somebody like a little girl or a child in your direction. So you think nothing of it, you just walk past. And then what happens then? They get nasty with all these setups, saying you're a sick bastard, a sick as fuck bastard for getting an erection over a child, when you had no idea that that child was going to be around the corner. And then they get violent, then you end up walking into rough people, they end up making threats. Obviously they're people that you don't know, but they cause that to occur, or they cause an overhanging trailer to rip your legs off from behind, or making the suggestion that we're going to erratically kill you, and they go absolutely raging psycho with the rest of the setups that follow. So they've been doing that as well. I want to mention something else. In the 2015 and 2016 area, my mum and me went to London, because obviously I had to sign up to a dating agency, because obviously I hadn't had sex in my whole life, and I was trying to see if I could get anywhere. But unfortunately, it turned out that it was just negative people that were single mothers, and they couldn't help me, and I wasted all that money and all the costs, which is included in the cost of the sum of nearly £10,000 of being conned on dating sites since I started using the internet in 2005. But I've also calculated the cost of a rough guide of the amount that I paid going back in the days when I was putting flyers in shop windows, postcards in shop windows, asking anyone for friendship. And the phone calls that I was getting, I gave my Uncle Rob's number, and he said that all these people that are trying to get with me sound like they're very old people that are very unattractive, and said, you want to stop putting postcards in the window. So that's what I did, I stopped doing it. And I did it on a mobile, and then I started getting nasty threats several years later. Anyway, while in London, these setups that are controlled around me were rigged up just like everywhere else, controlled, timed on the nail. There's like it right across the country, and there's also like it on the Isle of Wight. So when you go on holiday on the Isle of Wight, when I went with my mum, these setups, or this control force, is controlled around me as fixed and on the nail as it is over there, as it is here over there. Everything, like the wording, the suggestion, the black and blue cars, the trying to angle a trailer to hit you off, or you know, the whole lot. Wherever you go in the UK is fixed, anywhere, whether it's on the Channel Islands or whatever. But anyway, going back to London, where they had this force against me, they weren't too bothered about trying to hit a politician off of the street corner while organising this force, while me and this other lady was walking around, who was taking me around London on another visit to London when my mum went for a conference around the same time as when I went to the dating agency where everything failed. Also in the 2015-2016 area, coming back to my way again, they tried smashing up a Conservatives car full of politicians while organising this force to try and smash cars into me. They've also, on 2 occasions, in almost the same place, 2 weeks apart, and it's possibly a police officer I know, in fact, I don't know, but they tried smashing up a police car with this control force that was rigged up around me on 2 occasions down Barrow Road, Burnham at the top end of Barrow Road where you go towards Breen, on occasions while they were trying to hit me off at the same time, or smash me to pieces. They weren't too bothered about smashing the police up. So whoever's setting this up might not even be the police force or the government, because why would they want to smash their own people up controlling this force in that sort of way? But whoever's controlling this force, or whatever's doing it, or whatever's mapping this out, or you know, causing it, it happens every day, and it's happened every day for the last 20 years at least. It was less fixed before that time. So 2005 is when I noticed it really going bad, and it's been like it every single day. There hasn't been a day where it hasn't been fixed or set up. And when I first noticed it was 1997, when I was still at school, the final stages of that school. I mentioned it yesterday, but I'm going to mention it again because obviously, you know, it's worth mentioning, because, you know, I want to put it on this video, so I'm going to make a bit of a debate on this one. Yes, so going back in the days when I should have had a sex partner, or should have been in a relationship or whatever, the reason I couldn't get anyone is because, quite simply, everyone were in relationships. So I couldn't have anyone at my school because they were in sexual relationships, not with people that are not at that school, you know, like their neighbours and estate people or whatever. I had to stop the recording. Yeah, so basically they would have been in relationships. These people that were at my school were in relationships with, you know, their neighbours or people they know, rather than school friends or anything like that. And the people that I knew on the estate, it worked the reverse way around. However, I did know someone called, I think her name was Julia, I'm not sure. She was a really sexy type of person who was, well, my age basically. But what happened was, her family won some form of money, or came into some form of money of a very high amount, which is, I think it was in the million or something like that. It was definitely a high amount of money. And she started speaking to me initially, and obviously I thought, you know, she's the sexiest person ever, you know. So she had like darkish hair, smoothie type skin, a very friendly looking face, and just seemed a nice person. But because she came into all that money that she won, and I was never told how she got all that money, but it was in the, like, $1 million or something like that, or more than that. She ended up moving from where I used to live, and it turns out later, now I don't know how accurate this information is, because I was only told by a friend back at that time, that she got in a sexual relationship with a celebrity. Anyway, so you had that, and apart from that, many females have not really liked me in my whole life, so a lot of them were taken by enemies or control, or were rough people, or were hanging about with the types of happy hardcore ravers I was mentioning not long ago on this recording. And then obviously I was hardly walking into anybody, and because it was in the time period where people came into sort of using consoles, game consoles. You didn't really have many people go out, so they were, everyone were like staying at home on their consoles, and you'd never be able to go out or see anyone. The only people you'd see out is like the rough type people, or the people drinking, or the people taking ecstasy, or causing bad behaviour. Otherwise, everybody else were just inside on their Super Nintendo or the Sega Master System or whatever. Back in those days, possibly the PlayStation. So obviously, I didn't meet anybody that way. When I went to Bridgewater College, people were starting on me, so I had to leave there. It's the same sort of people that were starting on me from the Blake School, probably, because I had to leave Elmwood School in 1993 because of trouble between other people interacting through the gate to Blake School on the playing field back in those days. When I left Elmwood School, that's when I went to Avalon School and knew Lisa Pike. But Lisa Pike is not my type. We've been good friends and I never made any enemies at that school. There's one or two disagreements here and there, if at all, hardly, and that was it. Made no enemies. Remained bygones with several, but today, as it stands today, most of them have fallen out with me. Or if they haven't fallen out with me, they can't remember me, because I didn't keep in communication with them. As time went on, this was when I started going on dating sites and stuff like that and all the rest of it. When I started to fail, I started to socialise, but the problem is, when I was socialising, it ended up with chairs being thrown across the restaurants or bars, or glasses thrown everywhere, or in cases the window smashed, like in the cafe or wherever it is you're trying to go to, because people didn't like me or people weren't very happy. And on one occasion, because this goes on later on when the Severn threat came in 2017, next to the Tesco superstore in Highbridge, the one where I mentioned that Lauren and sun curse on previous videos, where the sexual sun curse, being cursed with the sun where it's cloudy for everybody else sort of thing, and being violated from that sexual curse painting of that sexy lady lookalike. It ended up being set alight by arson, and it was also mentioned in threats that this possibly could be the reason, because of the Severn threat. Because before 2017 or whatever year it was, the Severn threat never existed. I don't know who this person is, but I'm being mistaken as this person, and also just a bit after or just a bit before, I can't remember which way around it was, I was starting to be mistaken as Liam as well. Anyway, so as far as sexuality goes or anything like that, time moved on and people started moaning about the age and all the rest of it. But, there was only a short period of time where I could socialise where things were calm, and that was sort of between 2014 to 2016, but because I sort of never really socialised, I found it very difficult, and people were still starting in that time period, and it ended up with people having knife attacks, talking about murder, shooting people, so it really wasn't until the year of 2016 really, or 2015, but before it was, when I started interacting, there was no one single, everyone was like single mothers or they were in relationships, so I ended up trying to think of new things or places to go to. But before I had that chance, bang goes the Severn threat and everything kicks off, and everyone's starting on me everywhere, and they don't even know who I am. And then there's every other person starting on me, and then obviously it's been like that since. However, I still socialise and I still or whatever, but I've had to stop using dating sites because they closed the age gap on the dating sites now, and I'm told that the reason that they're restricting the age to such a stupid number of like just 2 or 3 years is because they're trying to get people off the internet to stop people using the dating utility on the internet. And obviously a load of those are scams and fake profiles, especially on Shag City, where it's like you can get someone and they charge £150 a message, and it just appears to be a scammer that's not a real person. So, you know, it's like that. And as it stands today, I'm 44 years of age at the end of this year, and they're taking the piss out of me being sexually abused as a child, making the suggestion that we're welding you to that person with suggestions of setups or control force around me, and cheering about it all the time. Right, going back to Julia, I can't 100% remember if that's the right name, because I'm getting a bit confused with several different names, because there's Kaylee, Azenia, Julia and other names, so I can't remember the exact person's name. I would need to check, because obviously it's that many years ago. You know, I can't remember the exact person, but I think it's Julia. Well, obviously I said she won the lottery, or her family came into big money and moved away and went in with a celebrity. I didn't really find out the proper information about that, but I did find out this person had a lot of money, and it happened at the wrong time, because she was starting to speak to me, and she said she fancied me, and it's like the only person in your whole life that has, and I was also sexually attracted to her at the time. So, you know, that pissed me off. Apart from her, and maybe a couple of other people that I've spoken to, not many, because I've never really been liked by females. You had Amy Weston, who I spoke to when I was a child. She was a younger friend, but she was only for a short period of time. And since that time, she doesn't like me since. Things have been just negative right through. She's a single mother today, and she tried reporting me to the police in 2015, 2016 area for stuff that I put on the internet. But what I put on the internet was mostly caused by the setups that are occurring, controlling suggestions to make that negative suggestion, which I was mostly mentioning at that time, but also mentioned a bit about Amy, where the suggestion was there, and I nearly ended up in jail. So then I mentioned it to the police about the issue, and when I told the police that I've never had sex with her, one of the police officers went, "How stupid are you?" Something like that. And they said, "Well, we'll do our best, we'll see what we can do, but you know," and then obviously they managed to deal with the situation, and that's why I tried to eliminate mentioning things like Amy. Now, Amy Weston, she had slightly different skin to most ladies. So she looked like Gabby Borges. I mentioned this yesterday. Gabby Borges is an American actress, singer and dancer in America. I think it's Pennsylvania or Texas or something like that. And Amy Weston looked very similar to her. With Gabby Borges, she has just that tiny bit more of a dry and sarcastic appearance in the face. Maybe slightly, I wouldn't say rougher skin, but her skin's slightly more, it's not as smooth. Amy has an unusual skin. Best way to describe it. Amy's skin, right up until about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe just a bit before that, I can't remember the year now, her skin is like, it's very oily. It's like a wet looking skin, but extremely soft looking at the same time. Obviously she's a blonde lady, so it's like a very soft sort of skin, very oily. I say wet, it looks wet, it's not wet, but it's got that wet appearance. Very silky, if I don't know what word to use. To be fair, I'm not really keen on that sort of attraction. When it comes to that sort of skin type, I'm more into like a drier looking skin, but not dry, but like a smooth skin, but sexy looking, rather than a wet looking skin, if you get what I'm saying. Yeah, and also I've seen someone that looks like her sister, Shara. She's a bit more serious looking, Shara Weston is, and I think she might be a bit older. Again, she had the same sort of skin type as Amy did. But like I said, I'm not going to go into like a long story about it, because I don't want to go into their private lives or cause trouble or anything like that. But that's just one person that I knew as a small, but when she was like young. But she turned against me because she went to go and see someone called Mike, who was a couple of the doors up, and said, "I don't like you anymore, I've got a new friend, so I don't want to know you." And that's where she left it. Anyway, the other person that I knew was Lisa Pike. She had the reverse attraction to Amy, so she was less attractive. Although Amy was sort of a little bit too, due to that type of skin type, just a little bit too, you know, to a point where I didn't sort of really fancy her that great. Although she's that good looking type, she's just a little, where the skin looked too wet, or it just put me off a little bit. However, women that look like her, Gabby Borges in America, she's got like a drier sort of skin, smooth, so that'd be sort of better. But in recent times, where she's got like makeup on or whatever, this American singer Gabby Borges, it does put you off a little bit. So obviously she's only a sort of young person, so she's in her 20s or something like that. But anyway, as I was saying, the other friend I had is Lisa Pike. Now Lisa Pike is one of those that I don't take to. She's one of those sort of, she knows this, she knows that I can't take to that type, and she knows that I'm not insulting her. But she knows that, you know, certain men would not go for that type. There's a certain picture that I put on Facebook going back some years ago, about a decade ago or something like that, or just over, of her when she was a specific age, somewhere between 28 and 32, maybe 33 at a push, but I don't think it's 33 because the time it said, but I don't know when the photo was taken, and she just is not my type. Actually just yesterday I saw a person that looked identical to this Lisa, of how she would have looked on that picture back at that time. And this person told me that I'm sick as fuck when I looked at her, because I was sort of looking for, well, it looks like Lisa, or at least if it looks like Lisa, it looks like Lisa how she looks. Same skin type, literally identical near enough. And I thought to myself, obviously I don't like that sort of attraction, I can't stand the look of that type of attraction, sort of, but it did look like her. However, I don't insult people, even if I don't like the attraction that they are. I mean, they're really good people. I mean, she's a carer for old people, this Lisa, and she's doing well in life, and she now does have a boyfriend. But obviously her interests, although she's a different type of attraction to this Amy, the interests are very similar. My interests seem to go in an area which no one's into. But, you know, it's sort of more I don't know, I was sort of more into like deeper interests, I guess is a word, or what people told me. Into more the mystical stuff, or more like the New Age, or Spiritism, or nature and stuff like that. But nature, you know, stormy seas, you know, sort of dusk, evenings, where my interests are sort of based on that. Their interests are based on celebrities, nightclubbing, happy music, you know, sort of doing it's different. There are some things that I'm into, but or can be into some things at certain times, but not getting something caught in my mouth, a fly or something flew in, or a twig, and I nearly inhaled it. But you know, I respect everybody for who they are, but it's just like I like to mention, apart from those two who were the main two friends, this Julia, it might have been Polly, I can't remember what her name is, or was Polly that lady, sorry, that girl that was at Bleedney when I stayed there years ago. I can't bloody remember, it was a long time ago. I think it was when my mum had the operation, had her leg cut off, and I had to stay somewhere for a short period of time. I think Polly was at Bleedney. Yeah, so it must have been Julia, that person that won that lot of money. So anyway, I'm into sort of more of a sort of, I don't take to the negative type, so right, so let's start with the beginning, shall we? So you've got the people with wet skin, or wet looking skin that's extremely soft and doesn't look very dry and looks very moist, or very silky or whatever. I'm not really keen on that type of attraction. It just throws me off a little bit. However, if someone's got a drier sort of body that's smooth but looks dry, but has that pretty sort of shiny appearance maybe, then yeah, I'm happy with that. When it comes to like what people nickname toe, the people or whatever, which is like a drier skin but has some sort of smoothness mixed in, and usually sort of these are sort of a bit like Gemma Ferguson type, like slim, where you've got some form of smooth skin mixed with dry, I can take to that type. When it comes to what looks like a stone that's dry, a dry stone, you know, like a rock, or a rock that's dry, or a stone that's dry, but not where it's dry to the point where it's like all powdery, but like just like a normal dry stone. I can get on with that type of people, but they're just out the barrier of what I can fancy. And then after that it goes into like pizza faces that look like sick off the floor, and they're the sorts of people that people are telling me to go with, which I can't take to. And because I'm 44 years of age, you know, they fucked my life up. I will also want to mention that people have actually got me down as a sick bastard if I look at the dry stone type of attraction appearance for skin smoothness or facial appearance. And I have been known to be told I'm a sick bastard if I, you know, even on the more negative types of attraction that go past that, you know, like the sick off the floor looking. So like a face that looks like dry sick on the floor for attraction in a woman, I don't take to that sort of attraction, but I have actually been told by people of a younger age of that attraction that I'm a sick bastard if I look at them. And yet they're people I would never even fancy or even sit at a dinner table or eat with. So it just goes to show how people are. Right, this is interesting. Well, there's a person on a horse in my direction. It looks identical to one of the girls that had a rapture dream on YouTube. Obviously this person's a little bit older, because obviously she's got to be old enough to ride the horse. But it's the one of the 6-year-old Jesus Christ rapture dream. I've forgotten from April 2020, something like that, I can't remember. Reynolds Beats channel. Reynolds Beats or something like that. Not how she looked when she was 6, but on her latest videos, when I was looking for other information like rapture dreams or whatever, or biblical information to see what they say, there's a picture of how she looks today, or a video, which she looks identical to the person that's on that horse. But it gets better, because I can't remember if it's Kaylee or Azenia, two people I knew. I was just mentioning this story, you know, of this Julia that came into money, which there's 2 other people that were around near my uncle's back in the days when I was living at Willavington. I think it's Azenia, I'm not sure. Where Azenia looks identical, quite literally identical, to a girl I just spoke to, age 16, asking me, have you seen a person on a horse? So I said yes, and I said go straight down, just go straight down and across through where the mud area is. And she thanked me, and then she went on. As I reached the roadway, there was a blue car and a white car, and that takes you to where I am now. Obviously that person's in a sexual relationship because she's got a ring on her finger, but you know, it's worth mentioning that she looks similar to well, actually nearly identical to Azenia. I can't remember if it's Kaylee or Azenia, but it's one of them. I'm pretty sure it's Azenia, and this goes back to Willavington back in 1996 area, something like that. Except this lady was a touch older, not by much. Right, so you've got a 1-minute van. I don't know if that's Lancelot. I'm trying to think what that was. It looked like Duffields. Motorbike now to erection. I'm gonna have to play this back and, you know, for the roundabout fucking setups. Hang on. Set colour car, black, grey, blue, red, black and blue. about quite a few vehicles and quite a load of interesting car names for a change rather than van names. I'll get to all this later on. I need to be in the graveyard so that I can state what's just happened before I read it out, because I need to memorise this because it's difficult. Right, so when I reached the roundabout, there was several more cars. You had a couple of black and blue, but sort of mostly dark red and black, and a couple of other things. There was a couple of cars with some wording on it, but I can't remember what it was. It seemed to be quite positive, but I do remember one of the words on the car, and that's the last out of the cars that passed, which I was mentioning on the previous recording. So the car said, "Just for you." Then you had someone from the field where they're pitching up all the stalls and caravans because they got some event opposite the rugby club at Barrack, where they say fucking paedophile being stabbed. There's 3 8 times loud bikes tied to erections and impulses, but sexual excited impulses, which pissed me off. But this is the interesting bit, and I want to mention this, and I want to make a quick documentary regarding this. So there's a Jesus Christ top, and that person who's wearing that passes me as I look down to the floor and see a pink cigarette pack saying "Lost Mary." Jesus Christ in his living life was in a sexual relationship with Mary Magdalene. A lost manuscript claims that Jesus Christ had 2 children in his living life, and that Mary Magdalene was a very young aged prostitute, possibly a legal age of consent in the UK as it stands today. Anyway, there's something I want to mention on this, because if I can explain it properly, because it's difficult to explain. That cigarette pack said "Lost Mary", so maybe they're making the suggestion that Jesus Christ is going to have to give his wife up to give to someone else, because that person hasn't had anyone, like myself, for example. You could look at it in that way. But if that was the case, Jesus would be making a mistake, because he'd be turning against his missus after Jesus Christ made 2 children from that specific missus, who was possibly a prostitute. Even in the main Holy Bible, the actual official King James Bible itself, I'm told that Jesus Christ had very strong relations, and it's likely that Jesus Christ has been in a sexual relationship with Mary Magdalene. Now, I wouldn't follow Jesus Christ as my saviour if he's been in a sexual relationship with Mary Magdalene, because, quite simply, I'd feel sickened, because the fact that he enjoyed sex with a sexual person in his living life, and the fact that I haven't had anyone, would make you feel like a piece of shit, and also it would make those who have never had sex in their whole life feel like a piece of shit as well. Anyway, the next problem is when it comes to the spirit. Jesus would have sexed the spirit of Mary Magdalene, so they would have come together in spirit and in a sexual relationship through spirit as well. Well, when Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ died, obviously Jesus went to heaven, so if Mary Magdalene was reincarnated into a person on earth, she might not be a single mother as it stands in human flesh, and she might be a sexual looking person, and she might be single and ready for any man that needs someone, but the spirit inside her has enjoyed sex with Jesus Christ, meaning that you can't really separate the two from being in a sexual relationship. So in some ways, if Jesus Christ had to give up Mary Magdalene to give someone who's not had sex in their whole life Mary Magdalene in a new body on earth, because nobody else is single, then obviously men like myself would say, yes, I would go with Mary Magdalene in a new body, that's not a single mother and fresh and back on planet Earth. But if I was to go with Mary Magdalene, then I'd be in the wrong, because I'd be going with Jesus Christ's missus that he was with in a previous life, because I'd be having sex with Mary Magdalene's spirit, because Jesus Christ had sex with Mary Magdalene's spirit. But just supposing these spirits have been on Earth for millions of years in different bodies, then they would have been fucking each other in different lives. So maybe if you work it on that principle, it's not a problem. But it'd be interesting to find out how all this works, because I'm not sure myself. But just supposing Mary Magdalene came in human form, in a sexy body, and a single woman, even though she's been in a relationship in a previous life and had children, yes, I would still go with her if she was a clean person and not a single mother in this life, and sexual looking, yes. But, you could look at that in that form. It's quite an interesting subject. I've never mentioned this subject before. But I didn't expect to see a Jesus Christ top and a Lost Mary at exactly the same time. I tried photographing the actual cigarette packet, but the camera's playing up, so there's no guarantee I've got the evidence. The likelihood is I haven't, but, at least I can give you some information of what occurred, and I'm not making that up. When Jesus Christ came to earth in his living life, he would have had to step on insects. Well, stepping on insects is actually some form of murder. So that, in some ways, would say that Jesus Christ is a murderer. Also, he killed fish for his fellow men. And he cooked them. And he ate them. Taking the life force out of fish, which causes pain and suffering and death. So this is very interesting when it comes to religion, of who the proper God is. But just a few bits and pieces I wanted to mention. Obviously everybody has to step on insects, they can't help it in the material structural creation of the material matrix, but it's worth mentioning. Right, so I've been forced out of the graveyard, and it's not due to what's been audio recorded. That's nothing, that's just a couple of people going past. I had to remain silent, so I couldn't push the digital audio recording device, because obviously it makes a beep noise, so it got dangerous. But I'll give you the information content of what's been said. Child rapist smash your head in, liver's gone said, unlucky Justin smash his heart. Fucking dead, child molester, fucking dead, said, penis up, so, I should have put loud bike there. Anyway, child molester knife said, fucking mental, fucking play school he was working, said. They said that yesterday, they think I've worked in a play school, but I haven't. Fucking just, fucked up, child rapist, breaking, said, goal smash, him out, said, shot dead, just. Everyone's had someone since they are 15, fucking cabbage. Breaking in extremely sad, said. No one left. Yeah. So it's like a chair in your... Stab a fucking knife in him. Not at work. Being mugged, said. Teenage girl shouts, being stabbed, you fancy children. Girl from Lakes programme, said. Right, I was going to mention it earlier, but people were coming, so I decided just to complete the sheet of problems that I was mentioning. Right, so yeah, some people came into a graveyard, only youngish people, mind, more about 20ish. I said, what are you fucking doing in there? Every day you're in there. You're a fucking weirdo or what? Why'd you have to fucking sit there? Why are you fucking doing that? Can't fucking explain yourself, you fucking sick piece of shit. So I said, well, I got burning sensations at home. And he just started out saying, they're Tron the fucker. And I said, well, don't fuck, get out of there. You're there every day. Fucking get off, get back, go to the Oval. You know, started all that shit. So that's the first 2 people. So this is like a blonde, sexual, smooth-skinned lady with a boyfriend in his early 20s, or around about the age of 20. And through the other side, you had a couple of people come from that end. So one bloke was about 30, and the other bloke was about just a bit older, maybe, or around the same age. And they started having an argument, saying, yeah, what's going on? And started all that. So, and the bloke who's about 20 said, I'm trying to tell him to get out of the fucking graveyards, and they're all dead every day. Fucking had enough of it. He doesn't live here. He's supposed to be in Yeovil. And then, well, I'll get him out of here. He said, I'll get him out of here, I'll fucking kick his fucking head in. I'll fucking smash his fucking brains out. So I ended up walking off, and obviously a can went flying, an empty can went flying, which hit me on the arm. So I ended up walking out. As I walked out, this is on the next sheet, by the way, but I'm just giving it straight because I don't need the sheet. I've only put it in brief on the sheet. I need to give the story a bit more clearer. So then after that, they said, the young chap in his 20s says, you're not going to get anyone, everyone's in a sexual relationship, so don't fucking hang around in the fucking graveyard, there's no one left, you spastic. And then obviously after that, I make it to the road, and 3 grey cars timed, black and white car. Actually, that road was busy in the time period that occurred. Black, white, grey, white again, so it's grey and white. And then obviously there's a couple of threats. No, not yet. So you had a black sexual car, and then as a surprise they want to get fucking spiteful about it, and they know this is going to cause trouble if my dad saw what it said on the side of the van. But yes, they decided to time that one that they timed yesterday. So yeah, I'm not very happy about that. So when I get past the next area, actually I can't remember what happened on the next section. Obviously I saw a kind of sexual lady aged about 20 that was coming off this path. She did say thank you for letting her past. I wasn't sure whether to continue down or whether there's someone playing music up here. So I almost sort of got confused, and then I thought, oh God, it's probably over there towards the field. But it turns out there was someone playing music, but I don't know where it was from. But when I got to Jack the Treacle, there was basically no problems. However, 5 minutes after sitting there were some people that were passing the path, and a couple of people in the distance. They're probably zooming in with their smartphones or whatever, and they're saying, or shouting across saying, well, first of all we got a crow saying bust your flat, fucked up just paedophile shouted, dog bark sick cunt being stabbed dead. That's a dog bark, by the way. Crow says child molester just, burglary. And then someone says fucking HIV needle the fucker. Getting HIV, Justin said. No one left said. Life's lost, he is Savannah said by a bloke about 60 by the sound of voice, but like a rough type of 60-year-old that's a sort of not a type happy type person. And Bird says knife him, God's turned. So we got that. And then a crow says, knife you dead, nothing left Justin. Animal says, life's gone Justin. I did have another sheet, I don't know where I put it. But I got most of the information that I wanted to mention. And there's just like a little bit on the sheet left of that specific sheet that I need to write down for later on. Because obviously I'm going to be drinking my vodka very shortly. Try and make a night of it if I can. And then obviously if my life doesn't improve and there's trouble, basically from now onwards I won't be very happy. It's I don't really want to give up the vodka, you see. I don't want to stop it, but the thing is, you know, if your life's getting fucking worse, you've got no fucking music anymore, you've got no fucking, you've had no sex, you can't get sex, you won't get sex, and you've got to be sexually crucified, you're not going to have your music because energy weapons or whatever's caused, you know, whatever's caused those discs to fuck up and the USBs to be wiped off and hard drives to be wiped off has caused many problems. So basically I mostly don't have nothing. So all my fucking interests are gone. I won't be able to get most of this music again because the original DAT tapes are fucked up. But and the record companies can't reissue the underground recordings because it's all been made, they've all banned it. It's all restricted now and not allowed to reissue it. So if you want the proper real deal stuff, you're going to have to get it on a scratched record in fair condition of £300, and that's just taking a piss. So obviously my music's gone, and obviously if you get it on YouTube the quality's no good. You can contact the YouTube uploader, but they say they won't do it. They said when it comes to these tracks, you said you have to buy the vinyl yourself. Unless it's been reissued, then the charge is something like 50 quid, because I did for Lord of the No Lines the bootleg mix, which is the Danny Styles remix, but he wouldn't do it on any other track, and that's to put it to a CD. And I made that mistake because I was into the music scene. But and that goes back about 8 years ago, something like that. But anyway, I'll leave it there. Right, so someone on on Treacle Farm, Hollow Rex's Lane, Barrack, near Yeovil, Somerset, has photographed me and saying I'm being shot dead, and obviously his kids are playing on the field. Someone with flu comes to me, takes a photograph of me while I Jack Treacle here, and then pisses off. Shot dead paedophile Savem said by young children. I can inject you to death with HIV. Well, the thing is, if they're going to start lifting the gun up, I'm going to fucking use fucking weed killer and proper murder substance, not fucking coward substance. Fucking murder substance that gets direct to the root of death, since these people want to get fucking nasty about it in recent days. Anyway, I'm going nowhere at the moment because I need to put a bag down, because quite simply what I'm holding is fucking heavy. Because I was moving my water as well, you see, because I had to buy another bit of water and try to move stuff to take things back that I had hidden out, because I don't want it stolen, because obviously I'm going to be less in that area because the staff at supported housing and people told me that I'm being reported for things that I haven't done, basically. So that's what's going on. Right, so I just want to give you the remains of the setups that have occurred. It's been quite nasty, actually. So you had a grey car timed and blue, and grey and white. A van that says 1 minute after that. And then what happens then? I'm a bit tipsy at the moment because I've had some vodkas, because I'm drinking a little bit more tonight because I aim to give up, but I'm a little bit pissed off. I just not happy today. It's just one of those days where I'm feeling like shit. So there's a couple of cars after that. After I pass those couple of cars, what happens? Get over the bridge and I make it to the air raid shelter. There's 4 people there. I didn't see one of the people clearly, so I can't tell because they were just leaving as I got here. But there's like an argument, a bit of shouting, a bit of aggression. So you had a lady possibly Asian, maybe, but if it's no, it looked like a young lady in her early 20s, but brownie type of appearance, but British, possibly Asian. It's hard to say. It didn't look properly. And you had a rough chap who was a bit older, about 25, bearded type person. A bloke about 50-ish, so this is a little bit older. So where I don't usually see people quite that old, or high 50s should I say, maybe. And then obviously I didn't see the other person, but he's definitely male. Anyway, they left, I managed to go in there, but I left it a couple of minutes before I started my vodka, just to make sure that things calmed down and they were out of the way, because I'm not in the mood for fucking trouble, I tell you that. But also, just before I got there, I forgot to mention this, as I went to walk up after the cars occurred, some bloke in the distance said, I'm gonna fucking stab him with HIV needle, he's losing his fucking life, he's a sick cunt, he's a fucking paedophile, he's a fucking rapist, he's not having nothing, he's a fucking woman beater, and just started that shit. So, but the thing is, he didn't see me, I didn't see him. It's like he's been told to say it, or it's like he's been programmed to say it, like something that's been told to him, or maybe they're leaking information from the military or CIA, the elite, or to try and tell people what time I'm going to be at these places, you know, considering they've got all these setups on the nail, you know, it's pissed me off anyway. When I went into the air raid out, I noticed I was coughing quite a lot, so what's happened is one of the pillars has collapsed in there, and also there's dust on the floor, and I'm beginning to wonder whether it's asbestos. Well, if it is, I ended up coughing for about 10 minutes continuous. Obviously asbestos is dangerous, but let's just hope that it hasn't caused you know, not enough to cause too much damage until, you know, you know, because you know I can't help it, you know, I didn't know it was going to be there. And the dust is on the floor where they've been walking about, so they probably brought the dust up, but none of them were coughing, that's the thing. So let's just hope it's not nothing too serious. I want to mention something else. Obviously I've had several shots of vodka, so I'm a little bit I wouldn't say tipsy, but merry, and I've got a bit lifted. But I want to talk about when I went on holiday with my mum and my brother. I'm only going to release it in this video because I don't want to cause trouble or anything like that, because people will get offended. So obviously I saw a prostitute, and some bloke about my age said, "So how much you charging then, love?" And she replied, 70. And he said, "What, 70? So she was okay. Then you had this other one. She looks she's in her early 20s. So she looked very similar to Lydia, one of the staff workers that works at my place. She actually called me in. But the problem is, she was asking 300 and I didn't have it on me, so I said no, I haven't got the money. So the next issue, we had the Asian person who's about 35, maybe 40. But with these Asian people, they don't give that negative looking appearance until they're about 55 or 60. Where when it comes to the white community, especially in Somerset of the UK, they seem to give that sort of a old age appearance as early as the age of 25. So, you know, it's a bit different. Anyway, this specific one I went into, and she said, "You have to pay more if you want more." And then she sort of said, I kind of like you, and said, you know, really, sort of, you are really sexy for my age, 43, and said, "But you're going to have to pay a bit more." And she had the same accent as well as my brother's partner, and she was also similar looking, so just a bit younger. I'm not exactly sure what age she was, but you know, I mean, she could have been sort of my age, I don't know, it's hard to say. But regardless of the age or anything like that, I didn't have the money, you see, so I had to give up on that and say, and she says, you will come back, won't you, when I've gone to the bank? But the problem is, I didn't have the money in the bank, so I had to tell her that, and then I lost on that issue. And but she did say that, I like you, and she said, I might not need to use a condom. You know, it's quite interesting. But let's get back to reality and get back to Somerset, shall we? In the UK, because people in the UK are much more fucking nasty and they won't provide this service. You're known as a sick cunt if you don't go with anyone at least when they're basically within a couple of years difference in age. Even the dating sites are restricted in the UK. But there has been a lot of discussions and there has been a lot of rows. I don't know if I mentioned it on this recording, but they're trying to force people off dating sites. That's why they're restricting the age of only 2 or 3 years, and or 5 years at a push. You know, there's some that are restricting it by 10 years. That goes back to about 2015, and people were moaning back then. You know, if people want a sexual relationship and they're sort of discussing the issue, but then they just sort of got hold of everybody, stopped anyone getting what they want, and no one was on the dating sites, I guess. You know, because, you know, back then people wanted the choice of all ages, not being restricted to one specific age. But, you know, in the UK and UK dating sites, people are not exactly the same as they are in other countries. So, yeah, it's causing trouble with the 10-year age gap going back along, let alone this and that. But, you know, if you look at people today, they won't let you have nothing. It's got to be negative attraction. It's got to be the really ugly zombie looking type. So obviously that's not very helpful, because I don't take to that sort of type. I did a documentary in this exact place yesterday, documenting that not all men take to these munters, and especially if you haven't had anyone in your whole life, you can't expect someone to go with someone twice the age of someone that sexually abused you as a child, 3 times more uglier than someone that sexually abused you as a child, and to an attraction where you're not going to be able to even have sex because of how disgusting the face looks, or because it has that unhygienic appearance. But, you know, it's like that. You know, I'm not going to go into a documentary any further than this, because it's already on YouTube. It's on the previous video. If you want any more, just go on the previous video. It's called, what did I name it? Job Centre Day. They cut my benefits. I think that's what I named it. But anyway, you know, when it comes to the UK, you know, people wonder why I drink fucking vodka. You know, what's the worth? Is it worth living? Do you know what I mean? That's the problem. If your life's just going to go fucking under all the time, you know, you've got to think to yourself, yeah, I'm happy, but you know, sort of this and that. You know, if my liver did give, then obviously I'd take the route out, but I wouldn't go to hospital or anything like that. I'd just take my own way out, because, you know, it shouldn't be like this. You know, it's pathetic. The way people are today, it's just small-minded. That's all it is. They think they're fucking children when they're in their fucking 30s today, and they won't allow the age gap. They basically tell you that you're supposed to fancy your granny, and I'm not making that up. Not all people take the well. Yeah, I'll say no more, I'll leave it there. With all this age complaining and colour of your skin complaining and all the rest of it, there's a good way, I will say this, there's a good way to get rid of old films, old television episodes, old music or whatever, to force people into something new. Because what they're doing, where they're causing people to go with older people and putting everyone down as sick if they don't go with an older attraction, regardless of what they've been through in their life. You know, quite literally, there's going to be well, I don't know how many films they've released before the year 2003, or what music they've released before 2003, but they got to do away with all of it. But then again, if we go back to Scooter's music, he was the start of telling people to burn jungle music. But when he was telling people to burn jungle music and get rid of all their old school underground vinyl and all the rest of it, he was making the promise that these people were getting sexual relationships with nice sexy women. But this was before the internet took off. Some people had it, but not all people. So obviously this is why there was some jungle vinyl left in the days of when I was buying it in 2008 area or whatever it was. But yeah, they're trying to do away with everything. The government or whoever's causing this, they need to change everything. They need to modernise everything, and there's a good way to fold under all the past films and music by changing, by causing people to think that you should be with an older person that you can't fancy. I'm just going to leave this on record a minute because there's been some shouting. I just want to see if I can get evidence. The problem is I'm cursed, a bit like the animal voice sound recordings, you know. As soon as it's like the creator's doing it in a way where he's being spiteful, trying to cause me to avoid getting the evidence of whatever it is. The cunt's really fucking crest. I'm not being nasty, but the creator needs to stop this. The creator has no responsibility for the, you know, we can see that, can't we? Why do crocodiles eat guts in and out of other animals? Why do snakes paralyse other animals and cause them excruciating death and strangulating them? Why does ivy go around trees, killing trees? The creator, it says it all, doesn't it? So anyway, let's see what happens. There probably won't be any setup now I've got it on record, because I can't delete the recording, you see, because the digital audio recording device has started playing up. So I wanted to redo 2 recordings in a more milder term to be a bit more less whatever you want to call it. Yeah, no miracles, what did I tell you? But very sneaky, so I'll leave it there. Yeah, so there's only one vehicle that they suggested. They just timed as 2 deep van, number 2 deep. But oh well, and whatever that is. No, I can't see. Gone to the hedge line now. Oh well, I'll leave it there. And now we've got the loud bike that follows. I can't delete these recordings, just have to leave it as it is. But just shows you how fucking menacing the whatever's causing it